Thank you, Alex. Good morning. Good morning. My name is David Krober, and I'm a member of this congregation, and I am going to move my plastic thing here. On behalf of the Reverend Dave Dunn, our music director Alex Peach, our director of religious exploration Lexi Tangney Brown, and the wonderful tech team in the back that is presenting our live stream today, we welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Metro Atlanta North Congregation, which we lovingly call UUMAN. We'd like to acknowledge that the land upon which this congregation is situated is the former home of both Muskogee and Cherokee nations, and many other people that we don't know that may have gone before them. So we honor them and give thanks. We are a liberal faith community with the mission to nurture our spirit, strive for justice, and transform the world. No matter who you are, where you are on your journey, or who you love, you're welcome here. If there's anybody that is here visiting us for the first time and you feel comfortable doing so, would you like to stand and introduce yourself so that we can worship together? Have any visitors over here on this side? Yes?
My name is Lisa Rawson, and it's my actually second time.
Okay.
But I am new to the area from Florida.
Lisa, welcome. Thanks for coming back. Yeah? How about on this side? Would you mind standing and saying hello? Yeah?
My name's Grace Doe. This is my first time here. My husband came a couple weeks ago. We brought our two young kids today. And then we're in the Johns Creek area.
Welcome. So is Grace and Kim? Is that? Steph. Good. Good to see you this morning. Thanks. So a couple of announcements. We have a few adult enrichment offerings this morning, and they are in your order of service on the second page there on the inside. You can see those, and we hope you have an opportunity to join us for some of those. Youth RE is having a multi-gen Valentine's Day craft in the Discovery Hall at 11:15. So if you'd rather do that than adult education, feel free to join the kids in that. We're also now offering a play group for the youth during the service in Discovery Hall, and see Lexi for more information on that. If you'd like to become a member of UUMAN, if you've already taken a UU 101 class or you're coming from another Unitarian congregation, we're going to have a new member Sunday next week on February 19th. If you'd like to be included in that, please contact our membership committee at membership@UUMAN.org, or you can see Dave or me after the service today. After that, next Sunday, the Earth Ministry is going to be holding a vegetarian potluck lunch in the fellowship hall at 12:15. We encourage members to bring a dish or drink to share and join us in working towards a cleaner future. Sunday, February 25th is the fourth Sunday of the month, which means that we'll be volunteering at North Fulton Community Charities as a group from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And Dave, is that on the Saturday? Saturday, okay. You can sign up directly via Breeze using the UUMAN calendar on the website, and you can also look for an email that will be coming out this week to sign up or contact Reverend Dave directly. Stewardship news. There is a little insert in your program today. We're kicking off our 2023 Stewardship Your Way, Reconnect, and Recommit campaign. All UUMAN members should have received an email this week with information about the campaign, a schedule of events, and a pledge form. If you did not receive this or if you have questions, please contact anyone on the stewardship team. We're happy and available to help you in any way that we can.
Good morning. Before we get started, a big thank you for those last night, Mary Beth, Jennifer Philippi, and Laurie Wheeler, who really kicked the stewardship campaign off with really a wonderful and warm celebration last night of our stewardship campaign. And a special thanks to the Haynes Bridge Boys, I think is the name of the band. They were great. It was just a wonderful event. And especially thank you to those who set this place up after that last night. I came in early today expecting to set this all up, but it was already done, so really gracious for that. Philosopher and therapist Piero Ferrucci writes, to be generous means to redefine boundaries. For the generous person, borders are permeable. What is yours, your suffering, your problems, are also mine. This is compassion. What is mine, my gifts, my talents, my energy, are yours. This is generosity. And now let us light our chalice together.
If you'll please join me in reading the chalice lighting that is in your program. It's Do Not Be Daunted by Barbara J. McClure. The word. Walk humbly now. Do justice now. Love mercy now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. And our opening hymn is going to be hymn number 1008 in your blue hymnal, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
A tree stood in the middle of the village. Its trunk was so wide that it took 6 people holding hands together to go around the circumference of this tree. It was that large. Its roots were strong and wide, and its branches covered the village square. It offered shelter to many people seeking shelter from the heat of the sun, shade. It even had fruit, delicious fruit. The people loved the village tree. Children played underneath it and climbed on the lowest branches. It was said that if you whispered your dreams at the base of the tree, those dreams were bound to come true. And if two young lovers said, "I love you" under the tree, their love would be flourishing and enriching and nourishing throughout their lives. When elders gathered under the tree, they could seemingly recall all the wonderful memories of days gone by. There was always laughter and conversations, people sharing things underneath this village tree, sacred tree. Animals loved the tree too. They'd burrow underneath the roots, in the base. Birds would live in the branches. But one day, a traveling merchant came into the village, sat under the tree, and began eating a piece of the fruit. "This is delicious, delicious fruit. I want to sell this fruit. Who owns this tree?" Well, a villager was there and said, "No one owns this tree. In fact, if anything, we belong to it." "Well, if no one owns the tree, then," said the merchant, "then I'm going to pick the fruit and sell it all." The villager said, "Nope, not today. Nope. I am the keeper of the tree today. So you can't do that to our tree." "What?" said the villager. Or said the merchant. "What do you mean by that? That's crazy. If no one owns it, I can take the fruit." "No," said the villager. "We each take turns being the keeper of the tree to sustain the tree. We could never own it. We are here as protectors, sustainers of the tree." "That's ridiculous," said the merchant. The tree doesn't need you." "It most certainly does," said the villager. "It could easily be damaged by some uncaring soul who wished to sell all the fruit or pick its last fruit without really nurturing or caring for it." The merchant again protested. "That's ridiculous." But the villager wouldn't be persuaded by the merchant. "We don't come to take from our tree, though we receive plenty. We are the keepers of the tree because it is here that we are nourished, where we dream. It reminds us of who we want to become." "Think about it," said the villager. "The tree is essential to our community. Earlier today, a woman with heavy heart came here, and we were able to share her story and her grief, making her grief a little bit lighter. And a young couple came here today for the first time, and they had said that once they got here, this is what they had been looking for a very long time. The elders, they came here earlier today too, and they sat and watched the birds together. And now, here I am talking to you. What if I weren't here today, this morning, underneath this tree talking with you?" The merchant sat for a while on his own, thinking about these ideas, and they actually made him a little bit uncomfortable. At sundown, he finally headed out of town. And he found himself whistling a song that he had forgotten about, but finally remembered long ago. And he shared a smile with people he met along the way. And his heart felt strangely light and joyful.
service, we share our joys with each other to magnify them and our sorrows to divide the weight of the pain. If you're so moved, please feel free to come forward, drop a pebble in the bowl, and express a joy or sorrow that you may have. For those of you attending via our live stream, if you have a joy or a sorrow that you'd like to share this morning, please place that in the chat. Anybody?
I'm happy that I'm watching a movie with my friend today and that I'm watching the Super Bowl.
I'm dropping a pebble of joy because 30 years ago on Valentine's Day, Annette agreed to marry me. And we actually got married in this room by the founding minister, who a few years later left. And we were adrift by the UUA, thinking we would not survive until Mary Beth started a choir. And we had a greater attendance than any time. And the miracle of UUMAN, a retired professor who was head of the music department at the University of Tennessee stood up and said, "I'll be glad to be the choir director," at no charge. And when I got engaged to Annette, since we're thinking about pledges now, I went to the minister. I said, "I'd like to become a member." She asked me what my pledge would be. She said, "That's not enough. Go back and think about giving more, and then you can join." So at least we don't have a minimum.
My name is Gus Haydorn. A pebble of concern for the people of Syria and Turkey and Ukraine.
And I'll drop a pebble for a pebble of remembrance. I'm David Krober, by the way. And 5 years ago today, my father passed away. And I was not a UU then, but I think he would have enjoyed knowing that I am a UU now. So, for Don. And I'll drop one final pebble for those joys and sorrows that are still too tender to escape the folds of our hearts. I'd ask that you keep each other in your thoughts and in your hearts.
thank you all for showing up on Stewardship Sunday. Yeah, you probably didn't know that it was Stewardship Sunday. The Sermon on the Amount. That's an old minister's joke. It's not me. So, yeah, so thank you for we didn't have to bribe you here. You just didn't know probably, and you showed up anyway. And now that you know that it's Stewardship Sunday, there's probably some of you stealthily looking to escape, looking for the door. But I will tell you that the cabin doors are locked, closed. You are mine now. So my wife Tammy and I, we had an inauspicious start. When we first joined a Unitarian Universalist congregation in Pennsylvania in 1993, we were brand new members, and we went to this event in the evening of, it's just like a Saturday evening, and we didn't know anybody, and we introduced ourselves to this woman. We said, "Hey, we're Dave and Tammy," and she immediately said, "No, you're not." And I'm like, "Yeah, I think we're Dave and Tammy." And she said again, "No, you're not." And we were kind of incredulous. We kind of didn't know what was happening. But later I understood her cognitive dissonance, because another Dave and Tammy joined the congregation at the same time we did, and they were the same age as we were. So she was like, "Dave and Tammy, you're not," she thought we were like imposters. So as I mentioned in my stewardship letter, hopefully you've been able to look at your packet, and I wrote a letter for that. I joined my home UU congregation at a very stressful time in my life. We had our oldest had just turned 1 year old, and we were due for our second child 1 month later, and this would be in December 1993. We had an old fixer-upper house that we had just purchased, and unlike the TV shows, we didn't have $150,000 to put into the fixer-upper. We had to live in this thing. It was, and I'm not the most handy person, so I learned on the go. And I worked for a small company and was given a lot of responsibility, like a new responsibilities in this job, and there was like just nobody available to mentor me, just kind of like thrown in there. And that was probably the most stressful part of all of this. But anyway, I was very stressed, and I went to a Unitarian Universalist congregation. And although we lived like a half an hour from the church driving, half an hour drive, we went every Sunday, and over time, I began to feel better. So, but why did I begin to feel better? Was it because I heard like good sermons? Was it good music or the coffee? I don't remember any of the sermons. I'm sure they were good. The music was good too. The coffee was probably not, it wasn't that good. Okay? But it was none of those things. None of those things. I felt when I walked into my home Unitarian Universalist congregation, I just felt this sense of acceptance wash over me. That I didn't need to be anything other than who I was. I could be who I was in that space. That's what I felt helped heal me at that time. And being in the physical presence, in proximity to other souls who were searching, that was part of it as well. Actually being in physical proximity to other congregants. I can't overemphasize this. Online, watching services online, I know some people have to do that. And it has been a godsend during a pandemic to be able to watch online. But for me, the healing that I needed had to be like in person. Okay? There was no streaming at that time, but I needed to be there in person with other folks for me to be healed. Like the tree in our story, the healing of being present physically, it can't be streamed. So a year later, after I joined the church, I was feeling much better, and I'm standing in the foyer of the the congregation, of the building after service, and it's really chaotic. It was really tight. And the DRE came up to me and put her hand on my shoulder and said, "I need you." And really, when looking back, my life changed right then. It was at that time, metaphorically, I took off the bib and put on the apron. I took off the bib of being served by the congregation and put on the apron to be of service to the work and ministry of the congregation. And at that time, I began to see the importance, really, of the congregation in a new way, of its mission and ministry in the world, not what it does for me. What it does for the world, what it does for the community, for the people in the pews, and what it did for me. And I began to see financial support and stewardship in a new way as well, that my pledge was not a transaction. My pledge was not, well, what am I getting out of this pledge? What's my return on investment, in a sense? But no, I began to see my pledge as a steward of the congregation, that I'm responsible for the health and vibrancy of this congregation. A congregation that is so desperately needed, I believe, in a world or in a society that's broken, fragmented, and often dysfunctional. In 2010, I entered seminary. On the first day, on the first orientation workshop on the first day, the first activity of that first orientation workshop on the first day, the teacher, the professor, Mark Hicks is his name, he said, "Who loved you here today?" Now, I've always been grateful to have two parents who loved me every moment of my life, and I'm grateful for that. Not everybody has that. Not everybody gets that. But when I was thinking about that question, although it took 17 years, that DRE, putting her hand on me and saying, "I need you," that is what led me to seminary. And although my parents loved me every moment of my life, it was, in all that they did, my Unitarian Universalist congregation that loved me to seminary that day, that loved me there that day. My DRE, our minister, the co-teachers who I taught religious education with, the social justice chair, all the other congregants, and especially for me, all the children that I taught in RE and OWL, our whole lives education, those are the folks that loved me to seminary. And it's been such a blessing. Now, your DRE, Lexi Tagney Brown, she grew up in this congregation. And you may have heard the stories, or maybe you witnessed them yourself. I've just heard that during the sermon, as a little girl, she would come up front and sit next to the minister, sometimes making the minister hold her hand while he gave the sermon, which I think is lovely and ridiculous. And by her own admission, however, she will say that she was a very challenging teen, and she caused much worry and consternation to her parents and to other members of this congregation. And people likely put up with her at times. And that's what love looks like at times. I don't particularly like you today, but I will stay in the game with you because I do love you. I'm trying to find your inherent worth and dignity in there somewhere. I'm not seeing it yet, but I will stay in the game out of my love for you. And now look at Lexi, glowing with Hayden and her expecting their first child. Sometime I think this summer. And when we hired her to be our DRE, she said, I am over the moon with joy. And she is, and she still is. Enthusiastically, she's passionate about Unitarian Universalism, about UUMAN, this place, and most importantly, all of your children, all of the children that show up here each and every Sunday. We are lucky to have her. And I want to thank all of you who loved her here, okay, when she was really not likable, okay? I really want to thank you for loving her here today. That's really beautiful work. It can't be denied in stories like mine and like hers. It can't be denied that we are changing lives here. And it's no exaggeration to say we are saving lives here. No exaggeration. Everyone, and this includes all of us, me, everyone walks through the door of this congregation for a reason. Sometimes we know the reason, sometimes we don't. But we're all looking for something. Something is missing. We're all deficient in some way, and that is the nature of being alive. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're all incomplete in some way, and we walk through the doors of this church looking for something. In the most basic sense, I believe people are looking to be seen, and they're looking to be loved somewhere. Lexi and I were both loved here by our Unitarian Universalist congregations. And that is the power of congregational life. That's the power of UUMAN. That's this power to love changed, saved lives into a never imagined future. It could happen to you. I want it to happen to you. And this power shouldn't be underestimated. It shouldn't be taken lightly. It's precious, and it needs to be nurtured, lest it slip away. So I'm asking you today to nurture this power. You can nurture it with your time and your talent, and I so appreciate that. We definitely need the time and the talent, people showing up, get to do our ministry in the world. Yet this power must also be supported with the generosity of treasure. There's just simply no getting around it. For us to continue to love lives into the future, your lives, the lives of children in Discovery Hall, the lives of children and families who aren't even here yet, requires the generosity of your treasure. We are all keepers of this tree, all sustainers of this tree. To me, there are no better institutions to give than to Unitarian Universalist institutions. We don't cure cancer, okay? We don't provide pro bono legal services. We don't provide free medical services like other nonprofits do, and you can give to those. But my values align with Unitarian Universalist values, Unitarian Universalist institutions. And we are changing and saving lives in our normal, everyday ministries. And because of this, and because of my gratitude for what Unitarian Universalism has given me, my wife and I, we've arranged our wills to give to this congregation as its endowment. We're also be giving to 3 other congregations as well. My home congregation, my internship congregation, and another congregation in Pennsylvania that allowed me, when I was in seminary, to lead worship services there anytime I wanted to. I'm so blessed to have that opportunity over a 6-year period to lead 20 services there. Also, because I love this congregation and I am feeling loved by you, I really am. It is the best job I have ever had. And I don't even consider it a job. I am so blessed. to be your minister. I'm currently giving 11% of the money that you pay me back to UUMAN. And I am glad to give. This is an institution that's worth every penny. And it's a great investment to give to a congregation that will love its members into their future. I'm going to close with a poem by the Reverend Rebecca Parker. Your gifts, whatever you discover them to be, can be used to bless or curse the world. The mind's power, the strength of the hands, the reaches of the heart, the gift of speaking, listening, imagining, seeing, waiting. Any of these can be used to feed the hungry, bind up wounds, welcome the stranger, praise what is sacred, do the work of justice, or offer love. Any of these can draw down the prison door, hoard bread, abandon the poor, obscure what is holy, comply with injustice, or withhold love. You must answer this question. What will you do with your gifts? Please, choose to bless the world.
So this month we are selecting the Fund for Global Human Rights as our 50/50 plate recipient. To assist those who are suffering as a result of this week's earthquake in Turkey and Syria, the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee has made a statement that says, at this time we encourage you to consider donating to the Global Fund for Human Rights Earthquake Response, where 100% of donations will be distributed to local civil society groups on the ground. So if you give using the Givelify app, please select 50/50 plate to donate to this cause. If you're donating by check, please indicate that it's a 50/50 donation. And half of the donations that we receive this month will go to the Fund for Global Human Rights to help those in Turkey. And so with this, we'll now take the offering for today.
We accept this sacred offering generously given by our beloved members and friends. May we and the Global Fund for Human Rights use it wisely and judiciously in service to our mission.
So our reading today is Anonymous Words from the Generosity Path by Mark Ewart. The thing I would like to teach people about giving is to do it not just because it is right, but that giving can be a self-fulfilling, loving, uplifting thing to do for yourself as well as for others. For me, being charitable is an opportunity to affirm, in a very real way, what I believe in and to demonstrate it materially in the world. It is me being willing to actually underwrite it, putting my money where my mouth is. Giving time and my money intentionally is a way of helping me become the person that I've always wanted to be. I want that more than anything, and it pushes me to do it, to become a better person. You cannot always expect reciprocity or thank you for your giving. That can't deter you. It is like a relationship with your spouse, your kids, or your parents. Every moment with them cannot be a perfect moment. That is true with being a volunteer and giving money as well. It's from page 140. And now if you'll stand and join us in singing hymn number 1064, Blue Boat Home. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Mark Ewart writes, "Have I given freely? and where needed? Have I consciously and graciously received? Have I appreciated others? Have I shared myself and my gifts with my community? Have I noticed and acknowledged the generosity of the people around me? May we be generous givers. May we be gracious receivers. Thank you. Go in peace and enjoy your week.